So that's it for those key concepts of social influence, those kind of phrases that I'm going to use often. They'll be repeated throughout the different theories that we'll look at. We'll go now on to our first of the two theories that explain social influence. Now, just a little bit of an explanation before we do this is social influence is a little different to the other topics that we cover at GCSE. Most of the topics that we cover have two theories that explain two different perspectives of the same phenomenon. In social influence, it's a little bit more fragmented than that. So we have two kind of umbrella theories that we talk about. And within those, there are lots of separate, smaller theories. And so this is probably the more complicated of the topics. The first of these umbrella theories that we're going to talk about is called situational factors. Now, when you think about the word situational, obviously it sounds a lot like the situation, and that's because it comes from the same root. Situational factors is how your situation determines the way that you act. Now, that situation is something external to you, and it might be caused by a place, it might be caused by your culture and where you're growing up, or it might be caused by the people immediately around you. And those are all things which we just refer to as situational factors. Within those, we're going to look at four separate and distinct theories that explain pro and antisocial behaviour, explain conformity, explain crowd and collective behaviour, and explain obedience. So those key concepts we've already introduced, we're going to now look at them in terms of how the situation affects those four things. And so there are four parts to situational factors. Okay, so into situational factors. The first of the situational factors that we are going to look at is called majority influence. Now, majority influence has an effect on conformity. Now, majority influence is the idea that when you are kind of outnumbered, when you're in a group where the majority or most of the people in that group are behaving a certain way, that kind of puts a bit of social pressure on you. The majority influence you and your behaviour. So there are loads of fun kind of experiments, videos you can see on the internet about this. The lift experiment's a really famous one. You can see a little gif of it here. But basically anything where we feel that social obligation to kind of toe the line and do what other people are doing. This is what we're talking about here. Now, what I want to do to help you understand this a little bit better is I'm going to actually send you to watch something on YouTube, something else on YouTube. This is already on YouTube. So the first thing that I want you to look out for is what were the rates of conformity. So that they reran this experiment that you're going to see in a couple of different situations, and I want you to record what proportion or what percentage of people conformed in those different situations. I also want you to listen out for the two different reasons that people conform. There are actually two types of conformity which we see in here, and the two main subjects that you kind of see in the video, they each have different reasons for conforming, and I want you to kind of jot those down as well. So if you go onto YouTube, I just want you to type in the search bar Asch conformity experiment. Here it is here, so you don't need to worry about me spelling it out. And this is the video that you're looking for. It starts off with an introduction by Dr. Zimbardo, who we will meet and talk about later, and it's about 5-6 minutes long. So go ahead, pause this, switch over, watch through that video, and then come back and we'll discuss that. Okay, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the video. Some pretty awesome hairdos and sideburns and outfits there, isn't there? I guess that's what happens when you make psychology videos back in the 70s. They tend to date quite quickly. Now, the original experiment was done in 1956. That you watched was like a recreation done for a bit of a documentary. Hopefully it was useful for you and you were able to answer those questions that I gave you beforehand. There's a few other things that you should also understand now. Those are these four terms that you will see up on the screen now. So you have got confederate. Now, Confederates feature in this. They feature in a lot of the experiments that we look at. You need to know who they are. Group norms we kind of talked about already, hoping you understand those. And the two types of conformity you were listening out for was normative and informational. What I'm hoping you can do, if you haven't already, is write down some definitions of those terms for yourself. If you're totally stumped, just wait and magically the answers will appear, because you need to know, and that's my job. So there you go. Those are some answers for you. Pause the video, get those written down, make sure that they kind of make sense to you. Okay, so next couple of questions for you. Should be able to answer these based on the video. So what did Asch find in terms of how many people were needed for it to count as a majority and cause conformity? How likely were people to conform? What things reduced how often people conformed? And what were those two kinds again? Okay, last little task for you then. I've got 2 paragraphs up on the board, 2 little scenarios. All I want you to do, pause the video, have a read through, and answer the question, which type of conformity and why? How do you know which type of conformity these people are experiencing? Right guys, that is situational factor number 1, majority influence on conformity, all done. I'm going to end the video here because I want these to be nice and segmented so they're easier to search. So next episode, or next video rather, I'll jump straight in on the second of the situational factors, collective and crowd behaviour.